The biggest myth on a 6.0 Powerstroke is that the head gaskets and head bolts are one of the most unreliable parts of the truck. And when pushing a tune, more power, and more boost, the heads lift off the block, causing the head gaskets to pop. But today we'll be testing this myth, putting my 6.0 Powerstroke on the dyno to see what kind of power it makes on stock head bolts and head gaskets. Keep in mind we have the absolute biggest mods you could put in this truck, which include 205/100 injectors, a stage 3 KC turbo, a bigger intercooler, an O-Dog intake manifold, a Thumper 2 H-pop, a 240 GPH fast fuel pump, and a Warren Diesel competition transmission. So to see the stock head bolts make it this far has already blown me away. But now, let's see if it makes it past the dyno test. Today we're inside of Gearhead Tuning's dyno doing a much awaited video for you guys. We're actually finally throwing the 6.0 Powerstroke on the dyno. We're gonna see how much horsepower it makes. We've done a ton of stuff since the last video. Throw it on the dyno, see what the power makes. We're gonna retune it and see what the power is. My guess is gonna be 625 horsepower. I think that's probably what we're gonna make. So we're gonna fire it up and see how much better or how much more power this truck makes.
So last time we really didn't have any good numbers. The truck just wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. Couldn't hold ICP. Basically card stacked against us. So maybe this will be a redemption video. We'll finally make the power this truck's capable of before the head gaskets decide to let go.
So we're having fan clutch problems where it's not the fan clutch. We're almost 100. I'm almost 100% positive it's not the fan clutch. We do not want to risk a catastrophic engine failure. So what we're going to do is go ahead and try to tune it differently to where the belt and the fan doesn't come on.
Normally when you dyno, put the load on it. Other thing is you don't want to downshift it so you can see the full power band of the engine. I'm just shooting a file to it real quick. Same file the truck came in on. We're gonna make sure it stays locked in direct. That way it doesn't downshift. We can load the turbo. Gives us a good dyno output.
See how much we made.
Like I said, this is a very mild tune. I want to get all the smoke out of it.
Yeah.
Then we'll start adding some power. Just trying to get it running correctly first.
Same shit, 479. And the torque is crazy though. Our torque is 728.
Okay, so we just solved the mystery. We solved the mystery of the truck with no power. These trucks, if they can't see the rear speed sensor on the differential, it limits it to 50 mass fuel desired. So that's why it would never make the power it was supposed to make. Makes a lot of sense now. Well, in this case, you got a bad ABS module or whatever else is going on. I'm gonna basically tell it it's okay not reading the rear speed sensor.
Okay,
so there we go.
All right guys, here we go, big pull. Go see. God damn! Holy shit! We're fucking 595 now. You're right, Matt. Holy fuck, we put on 100 horsepower. Holy
That's a little bit
shit.
difference.
That's fucking gnarly. Head gasket.
Did it?
Yeah, it blew the head gasket. Fuck. You got coolant shooting straight out of the bottle. Yeah. Well, there that goes.
On the limit.
Pop the head gasket. Fuck. Let's see what she made. That was the limit.
About the same. The first two really good pulls after the speed sensor kind of hiccup that we had, and we made 624.8 and then 629.2 horsepower. So a lot better than, way better than last run, over 129 horsepower more than last run. That's going to talk about kind of what happened and how much extra shit we had to do to get it to that horsepower.
Well, once we figured out that the speed sensor was limiting the fuel, I should have caught that early on, figure everything works. Not so much. Other problem is we're on stock head bolts, so we are making well over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and it likes to push coolant. So we are going to pull out a little bit of bottom end. When that turbo hits, it hits hard. We're going to try to detune the torque a little bit to see if we can maybe hit 650, but to get there we're going to have to detune the torque a little bit. So at 2,500 RPMs, when the turbo really starts hitting hard, we're going to pull a little bit of fuel out so it doesn't let it have so much power, and see if we can't make a clean pass without pushing coolant.
She's puking out of there, dude.
It is?
Yeah, bad.
Yeah.
Let's see what we made. About the same. Oh, we made more. 633. We made a little bit more, about 5 extra horsepower.
See, they made a little bit less than the bottom end, or no?
No, I mean, we still made 1,000 foot-pounds.
Get it. All right. Okay, so this is the last 2 runs we made. The red line is when we pushed a lot of coolant. So I brought the fuel a little more gently to kind of keep that cylinder pressure spike a little better. When that turbo hits, it just hits so hard. And so right at, 2,300 RPMs or so, it starts coming on hard, and then, we hit our torque peak up here, which normally on the street, you'd probably see your torque peak over here, but it would be somewhere, probably 1,100 foot-pound range. So I pulled some fuel out of it so it's not stacking so much fuel before the turbo lights off on the dyno. The dyno just can't load it the same, so we ended up with here, and we didn't push coolant. So this little change alone kept it from pushing coolant. Probably drop the cylinder pressure back to a more sustainable level for the stock head bolts. I still don't recommend running this much power, the stock head bolts, but anyway, you can see that we limited the fuel a little bit here, and we still almost had identical power up top. We went from 1054 peak torque to 1040 torque, but you can see right here where it's coming up. This is where we're really spiking cylinder pressure, right at 625 horsepower.
All in all, the stock head bolts did hold up to the test, but for how much longer, I don't know. I think 633 horsepower and 1,000 foot-pounds of torque is the absolute most we can get out of the stock head bolts and gaskets. However, I can confidently say that these trucks are not as unreliable as people say they are. Maybe I just got a unicorn, but from what I have seen, this has been a solid truck. I think if you were to just daily drive this truck with a simple delete and low power tune with proper maintenance and not beating on it all the time, you can get this truck to 1,000,000 miles. The next step for this truck to max out the power is head gaskets and head bolts, which we'll be getting from Powerstroke products next week. Stay tuned for the build and the next big step to the 1,000 horsepower club.